Hello once again, citizens of the internet, and welcome to a breakdown of the Bethesda E3 press conference. It was their first one, so I saw it only fit for my first review kind of thing on this channel to be about their press conference. So I'll try to keep this video to a reasonable length because there was a lot of stuff covered and there's a ton of things you can go into a crazy amount of detail about. But basically, here's what you need to know. Not surprisingly, the two heavy hitters for Bethesda this year were Fallout and Doom, with Doom starting off the presentation looking gorgeous, and Fallout also looking beautiful in its own right, capping off the presentation itself. So between those two heavy hitters, there really wasn't many surprises. Most notably probably would be Dishonored 2, but I don't think anybody was terribly surprised about its announcement, especially since I think it was leaked a little bit beforehand because they accidentally streamed their setup. Another thing we got to look at in the middle section of this game was Bethesda's take kind of on Team Fortress, it felt like. It's called Battlecry, it's your class-based team warfare kind of game. It really does look like Team Fortress and Chivalry kind of had a baby and this is it. It looks interesting, I'll probably play it, who knows. There was talk of, Elder Scrolls Online, I think that was... nobody was surprised there. And there was also another interesting kind of game that was announced called Elder Scrolls Legends. Now, when I was looking at it, I kind of had a thought in the back of my head, and that thought was confirmed at the end because basically it's a free-to-play card game. Sound familiar? It sounds like Bethesda's trying to reach their hands into kind of every market possible, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. But yeah, we don't have anything else to go off of. All that we know is it's a free-to-play card game with Skyrim characters, so kinda sounds like Hearthstone. But enough about those. The things that had everybody clamoring were Doom and Fallout, of course. They've said they want to make Doom a very fast-paced shooter, and based on what we saw at the press conference, I think they're going to be able to deliver that. Going through just shooting enemies, and it all looks gorgeous. Like I said, the gore is fantastic in this game. One point where you're just going through and just sawing through people with a chainsaw gun, it's phenomenal. There's also an interesting new gameplay mechanic they added in where you kind of, if the enemy is, I guess, their version of staggered, you can hit a button and you go up and you kind of like, it reminds me a little bit of Gears of War, you kind of just rip through them, and it looks so awesome. Just, it's not quick time events, but it's just you rush up and you just boom, rip their heart out, or just rip them apart from the inside. It's fantastic. With Doom, they also showed off the multiplayer, which I don't really know what to expect. It kind of felt to me it looked a little bit like Halo at some point when I just saw it. They do have, obviously, different things to offer, like the ability to transform into demons, which I think could be really interesting and a really interesting kind of balancing aspect of online multiplayer. But probably most notably from that angle was their announcement of basically their version of Forge. Yes, you can make maps, you can make game types, they tried to tote that you can do anything you want in this game. You can have somebody build something on the PC, and then they can play it on a console version. It's not tied down to any one platform, which I think is really good. Some people might look at it and say, oh, you're just copying Forge, but I don't think they really are. And even if they are, Forge is by no means should be a unique concept to Halo. I think adding that replay value, just by giving your community the tools to do whatever the hell they want with your game, to a limited aspect, but still, virtually anything they want, is a great way to extend the replayability and just kind of increase camaraderie amongst the community, and just build that community up, so that way it's ever present. So that's basically all you need to know about Doom. They teased a little bit of it before E3, but they were not teasing at all when they were actually showing it. They just went straight into gameplay. There was no trailers, no BS like that, so I'm excited for when this game comes out in spring of 2016. And then the thing all the fanboys were waiting for. Fallout 4 actual gameplay. So I think it was obviously very smart for Bethesda to just kind of take the Fallout 4 trailer and announce it before E3. Because that way you build up the hype, and then you can just even build up the hype that much more with their press conference. And I think they did that very successfully. They started off by showing us concept art, and for a second, I didn't know how long they were going to keep showing it, but every time it cut away, I was like, gameplay now? Gameplay now? And they kept showing more concept art. So Eventually we did get into the actual gameplay, and it doesn't look the best, but I think everybody kind of realized that with the trailer. It certainly is an improvement, and what we saw looking at, like, with the environments as they were walking around, it does look good. It looks beautiful. They showed us the beginning of the game, where you're creating your character, and you have a child, and then you're rushed off to the vaults. And then you awake 200 years later, and the story progresses. They were very careful not to spoil anything, other than that you are the only survivor of Vault 111. And I really think from there they could have just said anything and kept the hype up, but instead of kind of keeping hype levels where they were, they destroyed them, in my opinion. Because basically what Bethesda said was, do you remember the amount of freedom we gave you with Skyrim? Ha 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 ha! You ain't seen nothing yet. They talked about a lot how they wanted creativity and player choice to be their #1 priority with the game, and it shows. One of the main things they showed off, besides the core gameplay itself and VATs and whatnot, was the ability to form and build settlements. You basically have the opportunity to create your own little, like, base, your own little settlement, and people will move in as you improve it. You can make things any way that you want. Again, kind of, it looks like Forge. You can build a house, you can put down your bed any which way, furniture, buy stuff, plant food, run power cables, put water up, and all of this to just build it up, and it sounds like you can have multiple settlements. That alone sounds cool. But then, they went ahead and announced that basically you can pick up anything in the game, and it can be used as raw materials either for your settlement or to customize and make your guns and armor and anything even more awesome. And they even said that that's not all they have to announce. That's just the basics. That's what they could announce at E3. So, hype levels are through the ceiling, to be sure. Have I said hype enough? Oh yeah, did I forget to mention that they said it's coming out this year? So yes, much in the same vein of Skyrim, they kind of did the 1111 theme, except with Vault 111. They spread them all out to reveal that it's coming out November 11th, 2015. Get your wallets ready, because you'll be needing them. Oh, I almost forgot. They also announced a collector's edition, or as they like to call it, the Pip-Boy edition. Because yes, you will be getting your very own Pip-Boy if you order this version of the game. And it doesn't stop there. You can put your own smartphone into it, so that's kind of cool. But then they also announced that they have developed an app for your iPhone or Android that can then be put into your Pip-Boy and is basically a second screen experience. So you can have the Pip-Boy that you then have in the game. It syncs up. How freaking cool is that? I'm personally not one to normally buy collector's editions, but I may have to make an exception, because the app will still work on your regular own smartphone, but to have a Pip-Boy there and just slip it on your wrist and be able to go through the menus and play music and even play games in certain regards, that sounds awesome. All in all, I'd say Bethesda set the bar very high. It'll be interesting to see how EA and Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo can all compete with it, because they picked the right year for a press conference. They had so many things to announce. But guys, I'd love to know your opinion, so let me know down in the comments. Personally, I'd probably give them their grade overall, if you want to say, for this press conference. An A-. Why an A- and not an A+ or a solid A? Probably just because some of the games did feel a little not as solid as, Doom and Fallout. It's kind of like those were their big heavy hitters, and then a few base hits here and there within the middle. But hey, that's just my personal opinion. We really don't know much else about Elder Scrolls Legacy other than that it's just a card game, and Blizzard really does kind of have a corner on that market, so maybe some healthy competition will be a good thing. But that's all for me. I might do more reviews depending on how this goes and how the other press conferences are, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.